You like posted a picture the other day. You're like freaking still shredded, six pack and shit, and you had a heart attack. I'm like, this guy's kicking my fucking ass, and he's got like half the.
Dude, what's today's date? Today's the 18th.
18th, yeah.
It'll be 6 months tomorrow.
Yeah, so which is crazy, by the way. Which I'm sure we'll dive into some of that. But yeah, like I saw you on Facebook. That's when him and I really started connecting. So I'm like, what the hell? This dude's freaking shredded in such good shape, and he just had a heart attack. Like, it's got to be the stress from real estate or something.
100% it is. I mean, goddamn. And it's so funny because I'm 44. I'll be 45 in 2 months.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I was having a heart attack, I didn't really think I was having a heart attack. And I was like, I'm like, there's no way. It's anxiety. It's something. It's not a heart attack. And not only was it a heart attack, but it was the Widowmaker, which is literally the most deadly heart attack you can possibly have. Survival rate's only 12%.
That's
you
crazy,
know, so
man.
I genuinely think that I'm here for a different purpose, man. Like God kept me here, and it's just, you know, and I was thinking about it on the way here. It's so interesting to me because tomorrow is a 6-month anniversary, and in 6 months I shouldn't have had.
Yep.
And so I really think about it in form of I've had 2 different lives now. You know, I've had the life before the heart attack, and then the life afterwards. And the life before the heart attack was for me.
Yeah.
You know, that was my life.
Right.
In the post heart attack life is for everybody else.
Yep.
And it's my time to really to give back.
Yeah.
And to take all those lessons I've learned, all of them the hard way, by the way, and I'm sure you have too. And help people learn and not to do dumb shit, you know, because I've done all the dumb shit. You know, so just don't do that. Just
It's called experience.
Yeah, for sure. You know, my buddy Trace, we talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
You pay for the education one way or the other, whether physically, monetarily write the check and go to university or whatever it is, or through just experience.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, you know, the world's a cruel motherfucker, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know, I'm dumb and I do dumb shit all the time. And I've learned a lot of lessons that way.
I think we
just a
both
painful way. Yeah. And so
I think some of the smartest, most intelligent people I know, and some of the people that are uber successful, all have paid the price.
oh, without a doubt.
And I
think
talk
there's
about that a
sacrifice.
lot because it's not just financially. Everybody hears that term of like pay the price financially, and it's not just cutting a check. That's part of it. You got to cut a check to, you know, any cost in business, education, coaching, mentoring, things like that. But there's also the price of just the really hard shit you got to go through, the stuff that nobody's willing to actually pay the price for. Like you said, getting up early in the mornings, putting the workouts in, staying in shape, taking care of your friggin' body, things like that. You know, What was the mindset? This was a crazy thing to me is you're in good shape, you work out, and you had a friggin' heart attack, man. What was your thought when that happened? You're like, was this like, how the hell does this happen?
Well,
or anything?
dude, it ruined my ego
Yeah.
in a big way because a big part of me, my ego was based on how I look, you know, and the pride that I had on taking care of myself. And then, you know, I did a lot of kind of preaching on keto and different shit, you know, and I got diagnosed with diabetes about 5 years ago. And I think realistically, you know, I kind of fucked up, and it was like, you know, here I am preaching about health, doing all that shit, and then I have a heart attack.
Yeah.
You know, so like, what a freaking, just fucked up, you know? And so that really hurt my ego. And dude, it's so funny. I'll rewind this for 2 seconds. We had our award ceremony. And so what's really ironic, actually, let me tell the story for 2 seconds to give context to this
go
thing.
ahead.
So this was a Thursday afternoon. It was January 19th, Thursday, January 19th at about noon. And so we had, on that next Friday, which would have been whatever the 28th or what, I don't know what day it would have been, the 26th, 27th. So that day we were going to have our award ceremony for the company for the awards for 2022. And we had a lender partner and something got jacked up. We were going to split the venue 50-50. And I don't know if they just didn't charge the lender's credit card or what happened to it.
Right.
It got jacked up. We lost our reservation. So 10 minutes before noon was cut off.
Yeah.
You know, the chick texted me, "Hey, we're canceling your reservation. You lost your $4,500. And I'm like, fuck, man. I was like super pissed off.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what triggered it.
Just elevated the heart rate.
Yeah, I was super pissed. And dude, you know what's so funny is like usually I'll snap back, you know, pretty quick. I can be an emotional dude sometimes.
Yeah.
I really try to keep my calm.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just push that right button, dude, and I'll fucking snap.
Yep.
And so like I was like, just chill, just relax. I'm like, all right, let me just go cook some burgers, you know, and so that had happened and that triggered that heart attack. And just that little added stress. But I really think it's been a combination of having diabetes, lifestyle. You know, I don't know if people know this, but I was a nightclub DJ. I used to work until like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I'd wake up early and go work a day job. you know, and so like it wasn't always real estate.
Just
you know, I
not
used to sell
taking care of
autoglass,
it, just
you know,
hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so like my body has just been, you know, just got the short end of the stick. And so here I am at 44 years old. I have heart failure.
Just caught up with you.
Yeah, man. You know, and you know, I'm on 19 medications. I counted them, you know, 19 medications to keep me alive. And so, you know, here I am. God, please just learn from me. Eat fucking healthy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so funny because the exterior, you know, version of you doesn't really reflect the interior.
Yeah.
You know, I look good on the outside, but dude, I'm dying. I'm literally dying.
I just made a story about that on Instagram this morning. It was crazy because I was like working out and everybody asked me that, like, why do you get up early and work out? Because I just care about myself. Like,
Yeah.
you know, what's funny is like in your 20s, like I was just like you, man, I like drink, and it wasn't terribly. I went through a very small phase when I went from construction and hard labor to like my first desk job. I gained a lot of weight just because like,
Exactly.
you're changing the lifestyle, right? You're like, oh, I'm used to being super active and out in the sun and working to like sitting in a chair. Well, your eating habits don't change when you're super active. You could eat whatever the hell you want, burgers, all that crap, pizza. And then none of that changed for me. I was like, holy crap, I got super heavy and stuff. And then I think like 25 or 26, typical crap, broke up with my kid's mom and stuff, went to the gym, start working out because I had nothing better to do with my time. And I was like, I feel like shit and I need to put myself back on the market and get in good shape. And so I've always been pretty much in shape past that, but the diet hasn't been on point. But man, like you start hitting 30 and things start hitting you different. Like I started developing weird allergies and stuff. I don't know about you, but the crazy thing is for me is I feel like time's running out and I feel like we're in the second half. Like I'm turning 40, I'm 39, right? Or turn 38. I mean, but I feel like life's halfway over for me, which I think about in a very, you know, weird perspective. But because of that thought process, I'm like, man, I've got not a lot of time left. You know what I mean? Like, and then you really regret, like you said, I look back and I'm like, God, I wasted a lot of time like not taking care of myself. So now I think most people go through this form where you're like, okay, I've got the back half of my life. I really got to pay attention to my health and wellness and stuff, that's why I preach it so much. I'm like, you young people don't understand. You can get some really good longevity if you just listen to me, because I'm getting all the bone creaks and the back aches and all stuff.
Yeah.
So,
you know what's really funny is I resent my former self for not taking action sooner.
yeah.
It's probably the hardest thing I'm dealing with right now because I don't even know how to express that to myself. I literally resent my former self for not realizing life is super short and not taking those opportunities I was given or not running all the way through.
Yeah.
And, you know, I do a self-audit pretty often and I look back and I'm like, because I ask other people this, and this is where I feel like a hypocrite a little bit. I'm asking people, have you gone all in?
Yeah.
You know, and it was funny because I was speaking to a room about 75 people not that long ago. And I just surveyed because I'm kind of a curious dude.
Sure.
Out of the 75 people, how many people here have actually gone all in? And when I say all in, like everything you've got to where for an extended period of time, where to be 30 days, 60 days, 6 months, a year, going all in means at the end of every single day, you're like, fuck, man, I got nothing left, dude. I've just nothing left.
Yeah.
And you put it all out there. And one person raised his hand. And he happens to sit in my board. So I'm very proud of that. But then I self-audit. Have I actually gone all in? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
And so here I am, you know, I have heart failure. I've got a limited time left, dude. You know, the doctors, they'll never tell you, but the research I've done is realistically 3 to 5 years, you know, so my heart's fucked up. You know, I don't think people really understand how bad it is, you know, and so it's so funny because they always try to give me advice, you know, take all these oils and this pills and shit. I'm like, fuck, you know, so auditing it, I'm like, why didn't I go all in? And I have a hard time reconciling that with myself because there's no reason. Is it my ego? And I think that's a big part of it, you know, and I think when you truly get down to the inside of who you actually are, your ego can really hurt you in a lot of different ways because your ego will prevent you from doing things that may expose you to risk, like failure or success. And it's so interesting because I think that people are more scared of success sometimes than they are failure.
I agree 100%.
And you and I had lunch not that long ago. We talked about this, you know, and it was so interesting to me because what is it? Is it being an outcast, right? Because being a failure is an outcast, but also being a success could equally be an outcast. And people do view you differently, you know? So a lot of people are like, yo, why don't you just chill, man? And I'm like, dude, you don't know me at all, you know? And so just relax, man. You got 3-5 years left. Just go take a vacation. You don't need to work. I'm like, fuck, dude, you don't know me.
Yeah.
And so that is that them trying to bring me down to their standard? Is it everybody trying to conform to this bullshit narrative that we have of mediocrity? And I generally don't know the answer, man. What's your opinion on this? Because I can't figure out what it is in the human brain that will not allow us to fucking go all in.
I think in a way you hit the nail right on the head where if I could summarize it, I do feel like an outcast in some ways. There's not a whole lot. I think this is we were talking about this kind of off mic too, but I think that society's not really moving in a direction that I'm proud of. I don't think we're heading in a way that like instills pride in what one does. And when you really think about it, because I study history, I love history, and when you really think about it, you think about how hard life was. Like when I say hard, it was normal life at that point. I don't think they looked at it and it's like, oh, our life's horrible. It is what it is. Like you hop in a fucking wagon and you go across the country for 18 days to get one place or the other, and you didn't have the luxury of air conditioning. You didn't have a Starbucks on every corner. And when you really think about that and you zoom out from like a bird's eye view, people have it so freaking easy, and I always ask people, I'm like, why don't you just do that? Well, it's just hard. Well, why don't you get up and go to the gym and just work out? And I'm like, well, it's hard. And that's like the common theme. It's a society that's all about fast, easy, quick. Mm-hmm. Some of my biggest, like if I had to really look back, and we were talking about this also, some of the biggest challenges I ever faced are also what were my greatest lessons and made me who the hell I was, and was like, oh, I'm not doing that again. And it was like super stressful, but it threw a lot of adversity. But now the risk I take today doesn't look that bad. It's like, no, you don't understand the risk I've been at and like what the downside of what I was facing. And I know you off camera have faced. So you and I have both seen like, no, we know what the bottom of the bottom looks like. I didn't come from a whole lot. So for me, it's, well, I got nowhere to go but up. And then it ties into like the running out of time thing right now where I'm like, man, I know if I keep going on my trajectory, I'm on the right path. I trust myself to keep building something cool and great. And I don't even know if I know exactly what that is. It's just really, hey, here's who I am. Every day I'm going to work on myself, and hopefully the people that follow behind me, it creates something good. And my hope is by the end of my life, when I leave, my kids have something they can be proud of, right? Mm-hmm. That's it. That's like but it's this finite versus infinite game, which I think people don't understand. And people play a finite game every day, and they look at like the thing for me is they're always like, I'm just waiting to make this much money, or I'm waiting for this, or if I buy this house, and they always think that there's like an end game. And what I've found for me is that there is no end game. Like nothing I ever do, I'm going to be 100% satisfied with, because I'm going to say, I know there's a next level up there. Why am I stopping? Why am I telling myself? I always joke about, I had a social media post on Facebook. I think I made it when I was like 25 or something like that. And it popped up at like 28 or 29. This was like 5-6 years ago. And it was that post like in your memories. And it's like, oh, if I just make $100,000, I'll be happy. And I'm like, fuck, if I made $100,000, I'd be a failure right now in my eyes. Right. Yeah. But that was the end game I was looking at. And then and everybody looks at me and they're like, oh, you're successful. You got a brokerage and the agent, you make good money. And I'm like, I'm not even friggin' close to, I think, what I can do. And then it just comes down to like, you fall in love with the game. Like people talk about like the retirement, like you said, why don't you just take it easy and sit on a beach? Like I fear the day that I don't ever want to work again. You know for sure. I like the thought of not having to work again, like financially being set eventually one day where it's like, okay, I got enough to sustain my lifestyle and stuff like that. But I find fulfillment in my work. I find purpose in that, right? The day I think I stop moving is the day that I think I won't be happy anymore. But I think society as a whole right now, everything works against the people that want to build something big and create, right? The more money you make, you're taxed your friggin' ass off, right? So what are people told? Like, well, don't make that much. You're going to make too much money. I've got personal family members of mine that refuse to make more money because they'll lose certain entitlements from the government they get.
Stupid.
And I'm like, so you're not willing to lose 20 grand a year in this handout in exchange to go make 80, 90 grand a year. How much fucking sense does that? Yeah, but I lose it. It's free. And dude, we butt heads so much. This is my own family, right? Yeah. And you're taxed out your friggin' ass. The more money you make, you're not incentivized. You start making more money. You don't get to deduct your kids. Well, my kids cost me the same at this price as this price, right? And that's a whole nother conversation. But if you make this amount of money, you get to live on unemployment. You get free healthcare. Like everything in the system is of benefit to people that do less instead of incentivizing. Like for me, it never made sense. Like why don't they incentivize entrepreneurs that, hey, I'm going to go start a business, and for every amount of jobs that I create, I'll actually put you on a reverse scale tax. So for every job you create, you actually get brought down in the tax bracket. Because now you're creating jobs for people that are no longer taking from the system, but they don't want us to be successful. They
want you to be relying on the system.
100%.
Because without problems, they have no problems to solve. Right. So they create the problems.
You got it.
And so these motherfuckers, man, these politicians, we just need to start over.
I agree.
And dude, I've been very vocal.
I agree.
A lot more vocal than I ever have been. And I think people are always very hesitant to talk about politics because they're like, oh, well, this is going to hurt my business. Motherfucker, you won't have a business unless you talk about politics. And so, it's been a situation where I've been very, very vocal. And I say to my agents, I'm saying to my employees, I'm saying, get out there and get vocal. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on.
Yeah, just
let's have the conversation.
Draw your line. Let's have
because
a talk.
everybody's like, hey, it's a voodoo topic. And I'm like, no, it's a topic we actually have to talk about. And we have to have intelligent, normal, rational conversations. Because eventually we all want the same thing.
100%.
It's just, how do we get there?
If you sat down, I always tell people, if you sat down and you take politics out of it, just ask a whole line of questions on both sides of the aisle, right? What do you believe financially? What do you believe this? I think more people would be surprised at how much in alignment we really are if you remove the two-party system and like the red and the blue and shit like that. I personally identify more on the libertarian side. I like the Republican fiscal side of things, right? Like I'm a small business owner. I don't want to pay a shit ton of taxes. I don't want to pay for your benefits. And if you want to go get an abortion and shit like that, I don't want to fund it. Do whatever the hell you do. I may not agree with it. You want to be gay, straight, alien, purple. I don't give a shit what you do. As long as it doesn't affect my life, I think you should have the right to do that, right? I just don't want to pay for the shit. And so I fall right in the middle. You take care of yourself. Let's grow. Let's scale. Let's help the community and stuff like that. And let's just not tax the shit out of the people that are trying to move the needle forward for America. But so many people fall in this two-party stuff. And I'm like, why? It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to see the mindset of some people because, I think the genuine intention is to help people, on both sides, right? But how we go about it is such a contrast, and so I've been very vocal. And I don't know I think you're aware of this, but I'm the guy that sued the city of Phoenix to resolve this homeless situation downtown. And so, getting a lot of flack from that, right? And having a lot of it, I've done a lot of interviews about this, and I put a lot of time and thought and effort into trying to figure out how to solve homelessness.
Yep.
And, looking at the stats and how much money is spent on homelessness, because it's fucking ridiculous, dude. Hundreds of millions of dollars just here in Phoenix alone. Yeah. To serve 10,000 people. Makes no sense. Right?
Why?
Well, the big part of it is like, number one, people get rich off this shit, so, there's incentives out there to spend a lot of money. But number two is that, they're trying to do this housing first approach, but not understanding that it's the mental aspect that needs to get treated first before we can even have a conversation about it.
There's a reason they ended up there.
Yeah. And 100% of it, 100%. There's not, maybe 0.1% is a physical disability that somebody got hurt at work or something like that, but 99.9% of the situation out there, where they're homeless, starts with mental health. Now, I mean, it's a precursor to drug abuse. Sure. Right. Yeah. So if you're dealing with pain, you're dealing with trauma in your life, and you turn to drugs, and then drugs eventually turn into an addiction, right? And then that addiction takes over, and then it declines pretty quickly from there. So that's the situation, and people are treating it like
it's normal.
Hey, just get the guy in the house. He's homeless. Just fix the problem. Well, look, we've tried that, and so the Salvation Army actually got 7 units here in Phoenix. And they converted hotel rooms into long-term rentals for these guys. Paid for the rent, went to Walmart, got all these people all this, fully furnished, right? TVs and couches and plates and everything. And they came back a week later to check on them. And all 7 units fucking vacant. Wow. Or not vacant, but now the people are bringing all their homies in, right? And all the shit's sold.
Completely took advantage of the situation.
They sold all the stuff to get drugs. And so, like, dude, housing first, not an issue.
It just goes to show, like, no matter how much you help them, they have to want it for themselves and they have to fix the root of the problem.
Well, dude, I think that's society. Yeah. It's like if we can just help ourselves and, be the best version of us, all the problems go away.
100%.
But nobody wants to put the effort in. Everybody wants to blame everybody else. It drives me fucking nuts.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. Like I said, that's where I don't know.
Excuse the language, but
I don't know the answer with it. But that's where I struggle with it too, because it's just like it's the demoralization of people that really want. Like I know how it was growing. I grew up in the '80s, early '90s, and just super, hey, get your ass up, go to work every day, right? Did construction, did blue collar. Yeah, there was no like, hey, hang out, don't like, just you work your ass off and put in the work and show pride in it. You know what I mean? Where people have pride in what they did. And it's just, I struggle these days because it's just such a shortcut mentality. And I'm like, gosh, you guys, where do we go wrong with this?
Yeah, well, it goes back to, I had a privilege talking in front of some college students about 2 weeks ago. And, I told them, I said, look, a lot of you guys have hard childhoods. And embrace that, because a hard childhood makes adulthood easy. An easy childhood makes adulthood very hard. Absolutely. And so what I want you guys to do is start embracing doing hard things and forcing yourself into situations that require a lot of physical, mental, and emotional fucking effort, right? And when you do that, in getting back to what you were saying earlier, resetting that pain threshold. And I think that's very important for people to understand, is that your threshold for pain can really increase or decrease depending on your environment. And so what's happened is that we've created this environment in the United States where our pain threshold has been so softened and weakened to the point where, going to the grocery store seems like effort. And so what do? We go to Grubhub and get fucking grubs,
right?
Like
DoorDash,
DoorDash, so like that's stupid. And so, by doing that, you're deconditioning yourself mentally, Amazon, physically, everything.
Prime right to your door, in 5 minutes. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show people, when you're raising your kids, because it's got to start now, man. And it starts with us, the parents. My kids are being conditioned to do hard shit, and so like they don't get it now. They'll never get it now. Why are you making us do this? This doesn't seem like they won't. You won't reap the benefits of that mindset with them till they're like in their early 20s, maybe late
or
20s.
30s. And they're like, oh shit, because I remember thinking to myself, like, why is my dad making me do this?
Exactly.
Shit? And then I'm like, oh my god, I am literally my father.
Oh yeah.
And
they did know something.
One or two things. And so. What I'm trying to express to people is, you have to condition your body mentally, physically, emotionally to handle really, really hard shit. So when really hard shit does come up in your life, like a heart attack, like a lot of the obstacles that you've overcome, it's easy.
Mental fortitude.
Dude, you just blow through it, right? Nothing gets nothing. So we look back at what society was 150 years ago, 200 years ago, when we didn't have air conditioning. We didn't have cars. You had to go to the well to pump your own fucking water. You had to run out in the fields to go kill your shit, like you're not eating until you actually kill something. And so we've been so soft as a society, man. Like, how do we
I always think about that. I'm like, if you took society today, rewind it, and you just drop them 100 years ago, like
100 out of 100 failures.
I always have that thought. I'm like, I look at people and I'm like, you imagine if you could just pick them up, teleport them back 100 years, 150 years, 200 years, and just drop them right there. And here you guys go. Like, and where's the Starbucks? Where's this?
I know.
Go get it.
And what's interesting is we've been created for greatness. And so if you look back at some of the shit our ancestors have done and had to overcome, it's a slap in the face to them.
100% evolution. It's crazy because I think about that. I'm like, man, these last like 100 years, like what we've accomplished a lot of really great shit. Like we really have. But then if you look at the stuff people went through, the things that the people go to war over and fight over, like shit today we would have gone to war a long time ago if it were like with our mindset and ancestors. How we ended up here as a country, right? Over some T-tax and stuff like that. And, tyrannical rulings and things like that. So yeah, it's crazy interesting that we deal with that stuff right now.
Yeah. And I think people don't really appreciate their freedom.
No.
And that's something that's very, very important. So when we're talking about war,
there
are literally people out there right now that hate us.
Oh yeah.
And so hate our lifestyle. And, I think we take it for granted every single day, the sacrifices that, I know my family's made. I'm sure, a lot of other people's families have made the ultimate sacrifice. And so we sit here and we criticize each other, but not understanding that ability to criticize each other and have these tough conversations came from sacrifices from a lot of millions and millions of people before us.
Absolutely.
And it's so frustrating to me that people just don't like this country. And not understanding that, they haven't invested anything into it either.
No. Go take a trip to another country, go hang out. I've been to a couple of them and stuff, and we definitely have it. Like, there's nothing, we're not perfect, right? Like, I look at our country as a whole, and I don't know if we're ever going to be, and I don't know if you're ever going to line up everybody in the damn world and get us all to agree on everything. But as far as like opportunity goes, I don't know of any other country you could just literally, especially this day and age, you have the opportunity to get your phone out and learn anything you want, start whatever you want, do whatever you want. I mean, it's really, there's nothing in your way. It's never been easier in friggin' time, in my opinion, to be super successful. Because when I got out of school, your opportunity was, internet wasn't even really a thing when I was a young kid. Right out of high school, I graduated in 2003. Personally, the internet was just kind of gaining a little bit of traction out there and stuff like that. But realistically, like even in mine, like early 2000s, late 90s, the tech was like just a thing. Like that was a couple people were like, I'm going to go be IT. But your options, like my background, blue collar, picking melons in the field, washing airplanes, construction, dirt work, framing, air conditioning, like trade work. That's what it was. Nobody got out of school and said, I think I'm going to go sit behind a computer and do IT work. And especially from my house and never see anybody, never talk to anybody, and entitled to get paid. It just wasn't that, right? Like and that's like, I talked to my son about that. We had a big conversation the other day because I'm like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And he's like, I want to be in sales. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. At least it's not like some IT job or some video game job. But there's going to be such a frigging gap right now because you look at all these people coming out of school, like IT, trade, tech. I'm like, what about the world that needs to be built outside of that? What about human interaction? What about sales? And that was a whole conversation because it ended up like, am I going to go to college? My wife and I butt heads on this, by the way. I went to college. I have a degree. I don't think I believe in it, honestly, as much anymore as I did. I don't think it's as required. I think a lot of the stuff that they teach you can learn yourself. Like, I look at that and I'm like, okay, 80K, 90K, 120K for a degree. Now, I will say there's a caveat to that. Obviously, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to go to law school, things like that, there's a huge demand. But like from an entrepreneurial standpoint, to get like a business management degree, a marketing degree and all that, you can learn more in friggin' 1 week watching YouTube than you can do a 4-year degree.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time.
100%. And you take that 80, 90, 120K that you're going to go put yourself into debt, you go pay a mentor. You go pay a guy that's a multimillionaire right now. Hey, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 40K, teach me everything you friggin' know. I guarantee you will generate a higher ROI and learn more lessons about business going to that one single individual than you ever would paying a degree with professors that have never actually built anything. My wife and I button heads because she's still like, oh no, they have to get a college degree. And I'm like, listen, I got a degree. She's got a degree. I don't know from a business perspective if they're going to get the best out of it that they can personally.
I agree with you. I actually 100% agree with you. And so, we have this conversation at home because we have 2 college-age kids, right? Yep. So one's going to ASU this year. The other one actually is putting college on hold. And so we're having that conversation right now. Like, what do you want to do? And so, it is interesting to see the mentality, but I do think that college did one thing for me that I couldn't get anywhere else, and that was structure.
I get that for
sure. So, having that routine to where you actually had to be responsible, get your ass up, go to class.
Do you think that was just you? Or think that's most kids though? Because I feel like a lot of kids also go to dick off in college.
I was very undisciplined when I went to college. I'll be 100% straight up with you. You know, smoking weed a lot, just doing the wrong shit, partying a lot.
Yep.
But eventually, when I did graduate, and I was very, very proud of who I had become. And that transformation process can only happen in a couple different environments. Like what you're talking about, where you actually jump right into an entrepreneurial environment where you do have some structure, and you do have a mentor, or the military. I think is a great option for a lot of people, and I do think that college is the right option for some people. So it's so interesting. But what are some things that you have done personally in your life that have really, really moved the needle in terms of either finding that education or some things that you've done to really, because you've 10x yourself fucking 8 times over.
Right? Yeah. I had to set the ego aside. Was like, dude, I don't know, man. Like 20, I figured I was that guy that's like, I'll figure this out on my own. I've always been super hardworking. Like we grew up without nothing. Like I was from Las Vegas originally. Had a little brother that passed away. Unfortunately, it was a freak accident and put my dad into like this crazy depression. We lost our house out there just to foreclosure because my dad literally just gave up on himself for a while. We ended up in Arizona with $500 in our pocket. Like literally my dad had a garage sale, like with whatever we had left, sold it, whatever didn't sell, threw it in a U-Haul truck, drove down here, pulled our old 65 friggin' Chevy Suburban behind this U-Haul, and we stayed in an office building through a mutual friend my mom had that was doing campaigning out here, stuff like Indian School area, Bethany Home Road, somewhere up there. We stayed in this office building for like probably a month, 2 months, till my dad was able to get a job doing construction. Got a job, secured doing dirt work, digging ditches and stuff like that. And then we got a little rental property in South Phoenix. Levine, it was over like 51st Avenue, like basically Baseline and 51st Ave area is where it was. Levine looks nice, great little town, but at the time when we lived there, it was so close to South Phoenix, and then you had the reservation on the backside of that, so we moved in, and just a lot of gang activity there at the time. We didn't know that. We're just new to Arizona, and we're like, oh, this is a nice house. Levine looks nice, little farm fields, but it was just, it was interesting. 2 cars stolen within 8 months of living there. And they weren't even nice cars, So like this happens, we end up in Arizona, we get just hit after hit after hit from my family, and we ended up out, and my dad's like, I got to get us the hell out of friggin' Levine. This is crazy. Like schools were just not the best at the time when I went there. So we ended up in Maricopa, Arizona, because it was out in the middle of nowhere. My dad was just like, I got to get us so far away from just whatever, So we ended up in a little single wide trailer out there. So that was like my whole childhood. It wasn't bad. I'm not like, we always had a roof over our head. My dad always took care of us. We just didn't have nice shit. Like I remember a couple of my friends having nice things like 4-wheelers and stuff. And I was like, oh, can I get one? My dad's like, no, we can't afford that. So like the whole memories I have as a child, can't afford that, can't afford that, can't afford that. So we didn't go without. We weren't hungry, we weren't homeless, but we just didn't have nice shit. Like I got my first job at 12 because I remember my friends had like Vans shoes, and my dad's like going to pay less and shit for me. And I'm like, oh, this is, how it is when you're a teenager. You're like, I got to have nice clothes. And my dad's like, just can't afford it. We just weren't making money. So I found this little job, glider ride place. It's still in Maricopa. It's called Arizona Soaring, and got a job out there at 12 because it was the closest thing to my house. I was able to ride my bike there. It was 2 miles away. So I got a job there. They got me washing airplanes, and I was making $2 an hour plus tips. And that looking back, that's like the best job I ever had for customer service, because the more I did was just being polite, moving little airplanes around for people, washing them and stuff. I got tips, and that's where the money was. I get like a $5 tip instead of just $2 an hour, very similar to like a waiter job or retail job. And so I just learned, the nicer you are to people and you take care of them and you're helpful, you make money, right? So at that time, man, I look back, I was working, every day after school, I'd get dropped off for 2 hours. When they were closing, I'd wash the airplanes up, put them away. The bus would drop me off. Then my dad would pick me up on the way home from work. And then weekends, I worked Saturday, Sunday. I was working all friggin' month for like $300. But, bought me some new shoes, a new pair of Vans were like $40 back then, $50, a couple hats and stuff. So that's where it had started. And then when I turned 18, my dad lost his house again when the market tanked in 2008 because he was in construction. Market tanked. Right at that time, I had made the transition into getting into education. So I started working at University of Phoenix. That was my first sales job. So that was my introduction to it. And then after that, I got a taste of money. But I just, at that point, you start to really figure things out, I think, in like your early 20s. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I got to start doing better. I don't know. And I didn't even know what it looked like. It was just more of like opportunity seeking it. I didn't have a game plan. I didn't know what I do for a living. I was always trying to figure it out. But if I was like, I can make an opportunity to make more money here, that's what it was. And that's just how it started, man. And then I had my kids, and I remember that was fucking terrifying having my daughter because I was like 23, and I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, it didn't hit until the day she was born, and I was like, fuck, I'm responsible for somebody now. And then this biggest feeling of like, I can't let this person down, and I don't ever want them to grow up like how I grew up, even though it wasn't bad. I don't look back like my parents did the best they could. It's not like I was abused or beat or anything. I just remember like, I don't want her to have to experience like homelessness and experience not having money for anything. Like, I want to give her a good life, right? And then son, and then my other daughter. And ever since then, and then I got my stride like in my 30s, man. I was like, wait a minute. I figured out very quickly that who you hang out with is the biggest thing. I started making a little bit of money, and then I started kind of slowly working my way ahead of my friend circle. Like, we all hung out, and they were all just the average job. And then when I went kind of the entrepreneur route, started doing 3 or 4 hustles at a time, getting some money, like finally broke 6 figures. I was like, well, I'm kind of the wealthiest dude in the room. Nothing wrong with those people whatsoever. I just realized it got to the point, I remember we'd have like dinners, and I'd talk to them, and you try to talk to them about business, and they had zero interest. And I was like, oh, this is kind of crazy. And then I started seeing other people doing a little bit better and a little bit better. And then what it was is I just had to talk with myself. I was like, there's something that I'm missing that they have that I don't, that I just need to get in touch with them and figure out what that is. Man, hanging out with people, just literally like forcing myself into those friend circles. Like, hey, you're successful. What do I got to do to be in your world, right? Whether that was just trying to add value or hang out. Do you want to come hang out? I can't tell you how many people I'd be like, hey, you want to come hang out, ride razors in my boat? And they just ignore me. And I get it now being in the position I'm at, but I would do whatever opportunity I could just to get around people that were doing something. Because I was like, if I'm hanging around them, they're going to teach me something. Once I figured that out, and I'm pissed that it took me till my 30s to really get that, you know what I mean? Because like you said, it's the last 5-10 years, I've really seen momentum growth. Even when I first got into real estate, super arrogant, like doing good, did okay on sales, but I didn't believe in like partnerships and team. I was like, I'm going to do this shit all on my own, until I finally like had to start a team and I got momentum. And then funny thing happened. I was like, wait a minute, we could all win here. They're all doing sales. They're all doing good. It's not just me. It's not a sum minus mindset. Well, let's all win together. And then we all started helping each other. And then from there, it was just like, wait a minute, all these people that you think are assholes and make good money and they're successful, they're some of those were the people that were willing to give me their time when I could finally get in front of them. And they're like, they just open their whole playbook up. Like, here's what you do, step it. Because I think people like us that do our shit, I appreciate somebody that's young that comes up. What I don't appreciate is people that just ask for advice and then do nothing with it. I'm like, all right, you're completely wasting my fucking time. But if I got somebody who's young that comes to me and they like genuinely sit down and they make an effort and I can tell they put some thought into something, I'll give them everything I have. I'm like, listen, I just want you to fucking win, dude. Like, whatever you can do. So for me, the game changer was changing the environment and just getting around people that align with what I want to do or can teach me. You know what I mean? So now I've got a very diverse, some of them run very successful solar companies. Some of them do auto sales, very successful. A handful of them are all in real estate too. That's a crazy thing too. In real estate, everybody's got this like, oh, we're all against each other. All these brokerage owners. I'm like, fuck, some of my best friends in this business would be considered my competition. For sure. But we all hang out and talk to each other and help each other. Like, I couldn't sell every damn house in this state.
You know what's so funny is because I had this conversation with myself, other people in my brokerage. Like, I want my competition to win.
Right.
And so here's what I think a lot of people don't really understand is when it comes to competition, and let's just equate it to like your workout partner. Because I think there's a lot of analogs between the gym and real life. Mm-hmm. So let's say you're working out with a guy or girl, you know, and for some reason they're just constantly like just a step behind you, you know, and you're like pulling them along and you're like, come on, let's go. You know, whether, you know, they just don't hit the weight loss goals and you're not putting up you're not putting up 225 at the bench. You're stuck at 185.
Right.
And then you go and you find a different workout partner.
Yep.
And now that workout partner's ahead of you.
Yeah, when you're the guy behind.
Yeah, and you're the lagger, and you're the one like, shit, I'm struggling here. I got to catch up.
Yep.
What happens is that, that competitive nature in you is now going to push you to be a better person. So it's really interesting. I started working out with Trace, who's just a fucking beast in the gym, right? Like I've been working out with some pretty big dudes before that, but Trace is just, he's absolutely mental. Like the guy's got mental issues, and I love it, so
diverted in a good way.
Oh, 100%. It's like we're all trying to fight our own demons, so that's the place to get it done.
Yeah.
And so, when he started pushing me, my limits kept increasing. And, I'm like, God,
I love that analogy. That's friggin' so true.
But the same thing with your competition. So like if everybody in the real estate industry is just subpar, right? And we're all delivering a half-ass product or half-ass service, and there's no real incentive to get ahead. There's a little bit of incentive to be slightly ahead of your competition. But when your competition is constantly pushing you and constantly pushing you and constantly pushing you, and you're like, wow, I really need to be at the top of my game 100% of the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And really be innovative and starting to really understand what the consumer needs. And, otherwise I'm going to be at the bottom of the heap.
Yep.
It pushes everybody to be better. Yep. And so I want my competition to win, because then when they're winning, it pushes me to be even better.
Makes total sense.
And it extracts the best out of me, So now I'm pushing at 100%. I'm not pushing at 60.
Yeah, because you think you're already on top and nobody else is doing anything. Yeah, that makes total sense.
And so like I don't get it, man. And so like I want my competition to win, and I'll call and congratulate people and be like, oh fuck, man, you crushed that deal, $7 million house in PV. Like, dude, congrats.
Yeah, that's insane.
And so when you do that too, the law of reciprocity happens. So, when you do something nice for somebody, eventually it's going to come back to you.
Yeah, man.
Especially in the brokerage industry where it's so competitive and there's so many egos in the room, is when you can eliminate that ego and you can all get on the same level and say, hey, look, dude, we're all just trying to survive here. We're trying to kick 100%. Ass. That when that ego goes away, then when something comes up like a major issue, where there's something that happened in a deal that blew up and we need to work together, then that relationship is built. And that law of reciprocity kicks in. So where they're like, dude, you've been, helping me out for years. The least I could do is work with you.
That's where the power kicks in. That's what I realized too, is like, I'm not good at everything, right? Like, and I tell everybody, and it's super interesting because I look at these brokerages now as a brokerage. I remember being a regular agent. Literally the value I saw was like, what's your splits each one? Like, that's how I gauge brokerages. So fucking stupid. Like now that I'm being an agent, like once I got in, I remember I had this guy that talked me into like going to this super cheap flat fee, and it was a great experience. And that guy was super good. Knowing what I know now, I'm like, God damn, I was set up at such a friggin' disadvantage because I didn't even realize the lack of support. I just thought that was normal. I just got in and I'm like, oh, that's what you do. And then I got 2, 3 years, 4 years down the line for myself. And I'm like, why didn't somebody teach me that? Why didn't I know about cash offers? Why didn't I know about wholesaling? Why didn't I know about investing and buying rental properties and all the, like, why didn't I know anything about this? Why didn't nobody? Oh, that's right. Because I went to a place that they don't care about that shit. Yeah. And I'm like, and then I do the math. I'm like, well, I saved this much in commissions, but holy shit, I could have made this. But then I look at agents here and I'm like, well, we teach them this, teach them how to leverage a deal, teach them how to save a deal through other means and methods. Like, how much more money do they make? So I also look at things like from a different, like we're all different teams. It's a super weird way to look at it. But I look at now the value I see in it is like cultures, right? So you got like Brian North, he was a friend of mine, and his culture is very different than mine, right? And my culture is a certain way, and we all coach and lead based on like how we are. I imagine yours is probably semi-similar to mine, where like I breed competition. Like, you're not going to be here and be mediocre. But with that being said, there are brokerages that are more like, hey, I'm going to pat you on the ass. You're going to be okay. It's okay. Like, it's more about your feelings instead of results, where I think if you're that type of person, you should totally go there. And I tell agents all the time, we'll interview them. I'm like, this probably wouldn't be a place for you. You're probably going to feel like an outcast, or you're going to hate it here, because the way that I do things is very much like, let's go, right? So now it's kind of cool because I look at these things that like they're all little mini subcultures and stuff like that. So it's almost like you just need to plug in on where you're going to excel at, right? Stop paying attention to like the splits. And there's part of that. Like some of these brokers just charge like crazy splits. And I'm like, I get it. No wonder you guys have massive turnover if you're not getting a lot of value for it. But on the flip side of that, you got to really look at it as a whole. Like, hey, if I'm surrounded by the right people doing the right thing that can bring out the best in me, and I fit, and they can teach me how to perform, how much money are you going to friggin' make, right? And I've had agents that have come from certain brokerages that are like bottom horrible, and then they come in and they just kind of plug into the way that I do things, and they fucking kill it. Crush. And then I've got people that are here that just crumble under the way that I do things, because I'm a pretty intense guy. I don't really allow you to sit and wallow in your pity for a long time, because I don't allow myself to do that, right? Same. It's just the way I am. but to some people it's hard. Like, don't get me wrong. I know some people's personalities, that's not going to, but they go over here and they get kind of more the emotional side of things and they do very well. Nothing wrong with that. Right. So it's interesting, the evolution of like being where I'm at and just being in the career. I'm like, wait a minute, there's value in friggin' all of us. We all have value.
Well, I think you nailed something. And I want people to understand that culture can really drive or success or cause failure. Yep. You know, so if you're in a culture of mediocrity where, you know, you come in and you get coddled and everything will be okay and it's going to be, you know, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Well, look,
society,
unfortunately,
right
you know, experience can be a cruel bitch. And so, you know, they're getting that experience, but what are you going to do with it? Yeah. And so for me, it's the same thing, cultivating a culture to where that mindset is just so savage, you know, where you're like, dude, small speed bump, keep going, you know, and I hate to say it, but real estate has been so diluted, you know, to the point where it's almost embarrassing. I had a really interesting conversation with the president of the Arizona Association of Realtors. And I said, dude, I don't want to be called a realtor anymore. Yeah. Take me off the roster. Please, cut me.
I don't want to be associated.
Cut me loose, coach. You know, I need to be a free agent here. And so what happened was, you know, when you go to the general public and you just say, hey, what do you think of a realtor? Do you know we're actually below lawyers in terms of respect for the profession?
I can see it.
And I think I'm going to get on a high horse here for 2 seconds, if you don't mind. So the problem is that a lot of brokerages and broker owners have said, I don't want you talking about how to win at taxes. I don't want you to talk about wholesale deals. I don't want you to talk about investing in real estate. Yeah. I need you to defer that to other experts. I'm like, look, you know, when somebody goes to a real estate agent, they're expecting you to be very versed in all this shit.
Solve a problem for people.
Dude, so why aren't agents allowed to talk about 1031 exchanges? Why are we not talking about, you know, tax advantages to owning real estate? Why are we not talking about how to build a portfolio? Why are we not talking about financing?
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
So when I went to the AAR, I'm like, dude, the problem is that, you know, you've coined this term realtor, which is a brand, you know, it's trademark, so don't fucking sue me. Right. So, you know, when you say, hey, you know, I'm a realtor, I'm like, dude, I do not call me a realtor. That's probably the worst thing you can call me. Yeah. I'm a real estate professional, man.
You got it.
And there's a big gap between a realtor and what I am. So please do not put me in that bucket.
I agree with that. And I think the hard part is like, I talk about people all the time. I'm like, as much as I hate to say it, the barrier to entry to get in this business is super low. And I think the problem is people come in with the wrong intentions. I'm guilty of that. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I got into real estate, and we should probably totally talk about how the hell you got into real estate now, since we're both real estate professionals.
Absolutely.
But I got into it just because I was working a bunch of other jobs, and I was like, I want to have access to somehow buy rental properties for myself, because I lost my retirement in 401k when I lost my big corporate job. And I was like, well, I'm working all these other jobs and I don't have a 401k anymore. And I just saw wealthy people had real estate. That's all I knew. I was like, they got to be doing, I didn't even understand it. I just said, everybody I know that's wealthy, real estate's tied to their name.
Great observation, by the way.
Right. Yeah. For sure. So, and I didn't, just full disclosure, complete idiot getting into it. Right. And this is why I hate to tell my stories to people like, did you have this amazing plan to be a realtor? I'm like, no, I fell into this shit. I just happen to be okay at it. But that's why I got into it. So I struggle with that, because I'm like, if I can turn into it, you know, somebody that didn't get into it, it's actually with the intention of like being a full-on real estate professional. But man, the other side of that is it's got such a high failure rate. Why? You agree? Because people don't have the work ethic. They don't have realistic expectations of what it is. They're not allowed to be a Swiss Army knife, like what you're talking about, where I know now the best of the best, like you, me, like some of the other top agents out there, we're here to solve problems for people. Mm-hmm. And I even struggled with this my first 2 to 3 years in this business. Like when OfferPad and Open Doors were coming out in the 16 and 17, I was only a year or two in the business. I'm like, who the hell would ever sell their house for cash to somebody? That's so stupid. What's wrong with it? I was like the biggest like hater on cash offers, right? Ignorant. And then until I started losing deals to these people, and I'm like, why would you guys do that? You can sell this on the market. I could have made you guys 20K more. And they're like, oh, I just had a massive death and trauma. Like, I don't want people coming through I'm like, oh, okay. Like, and then you just start to get experience, and it's just that thing, right? Like you're a teen, you think you know everything, but that's how I was in real estate. But I think that they don't set people up with proper expectations. And I couldn't agree with you more, where you said they need to learn how to solve problems. That you're a weapon if you could solve problems for people. You could walk in and you give them a menu, because you're not doing them a service if they say, I'm in this really crappy spot, I'm hitting foreclosure in 30 days. Oh, no problem. Let's put it up on the market. And then it doesn't sell and they hit foreclosure, instead of you at least offering them, what about if we do this cash offer, maybe a subject to, we can get you out of this thing. Like, you have to give people options. And no, like the oldest, in my opinion, don't kill me on this, guys, but like the old school brokers are the ones that just don't allow it. You know, it seems like some of the newer boutique guys like you, me, and a lot of people I know, they are smart enough to know that to adapt with times, and you're going to have to teach agents to be smarter. You have the internet technology right now. Most people can go learn the crap on their own. So you might as well teach your agents how to be weapons with this. But I couldn't agree with you more, man. I feel like I told people the other day, I was like, one of my agents, I was like, we should just raise the dues to like 10 grand a year. Gone.
Oh, instantly.
Everybody would freak out. And I'm like, well, no, if you're a true, if you're a true professional, why would you not pay that, right? Attorneys, like anybody else has to pay big bucks to be like a member to put your money where your mouth is and say, I choose this as a profession. $300 a year to maintain a life is, you're just taking up parking spaces.
It's an embarrassment. Yeah. It's an embarrassment. You know, it's like, don't call me a realtor, dude.
Bingo. I get you.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I fell into real estate just by accident completely. I was a mortgage loan officer and I owned my own mortgage company. I remember I had taken over a deal for somebody that had screwed it up. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to attend the closing, you know, and I'm at the closing table and so you've got the seller's agent, you got the buyer's agent. And so, you know, the buyer's agent is supposed to be on my side, you know, and they were just throwing me under the bus, proverbial bus. And so this guy was literally a bus driver. Okay. And so,
pun intended.
Yeah, I know. So, you know, and he's nagging me. Why are your fees so high? And so I turned to him right in the middle of closing, right? And it's really awkward because in Colorado we had, you know, a situation where it's a round closing table and essentially the seller, the buyer, everybody's there at one time. All the agents there, title agents there, loan officers there. And I looked at him and I looked at the line items and I said, dude, you're getting paid $9,000 on this deal. I'm getting paid $1,500 plus $900 underwriting fee.
Right.
And I looked at him, I'm like, what do you do full time? Yeah. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, don't you drive a bus full time? You know? And so I got really upset. And I remember we got into the same elevator, and on the way down in the elevator, he's like ready to fight me. Yeah. And then so we get out in the parking lot, and he's literally ready to fight me. This dude's ready to fight me. He weighs like, I probably weighed 180 pounds at the time. This guy weighs like 260. Like he's definitely blue collar. He beat my ass, you know. And so I remember I went home that day and I thought about it. I'm like, I made $1,500, and the underwriting fee goes to the direct lender. We were brokers at the time, right? So I'm making $1,500 in this deal, giving it away just to make the deal happen. This guy's making 9 G's and he's a bus driver. Fuck that. Right. I can do that. Right. And I can do it better. And so I got my license like within 6 months after that. Not even, I think in 2 or 3 months. And then I opened up my own real estate firm in 2003. You know, and so I've been grinding, dude, for 20 years. So that's hard to believe.
What made you go open your own firm? Just because you wanted to do it? Was there a benefit to it for you?
It goes back to like, you know, part of it was ego. Like I can do it better than anybody else. And a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, I think you need to embrace that. Because a lot of people are sitting out there, you know, and they see a problem, but they don't want to address that problem. And like entrepreneurs are just problem solvers, right? That's literally all we are. Yeah. And so, you know, if you find an industry that you're in and you're looking at it and saying, hey, there's a gap here, and I don't understand why this gap exists. That gap exists so you can exploit it. And so what I want you to do is figure out how to close that gap. And so for me, the education gap in real estate's huge. Yeah. Big difference between people that just get their license and have no clue, dude. And we deal with them. I own a brokerage, and I hate to say it, but some of my agents in my firm are at that point right now where they're brand new and they don't really know what they don't know. Yep. And then I've got agents in my firm that have been here for 20 years that know exactly what to do. That are sharp. They're assassins. Yeah, they're weapons. Yep. And so, like trying to close that gap. And so that's the broker owner model, right? It's closing that education gap and finding how to really leverage people and get the most out of people. And that's what has been so interesting to me. And that's why I talk about mindset so often, is how do you extrapolate that last 2% out of somebody? You know, they're operating at 90%. How can you get them to 100%? How can you push them mentally, physically, emotionally to fully exploit all their potential? Agreed. And so, you know, I think that so many people leave like 90% of the potential on the table, you know. So
100%. Yeah.
My problem in life is trying to figure out how to make that 90% happen for somebody.
I just had this conversation. It's so funny with one of my friends yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, we were having that talk. Yeah. And he's like, do you ever get frustrated that you're like always give out all this like free advice on social media and nobody listens to you? I'm like, yeah, a lot, to be honest with you. Like I do because I want to help people. And dude, I don't expect anything in return except for people just to take that and hopefully it improves your life. And I don't mean I need a monetary gain. I need nothing. I just want to see you fucking win.
Dude, I have goosebumps. Okay, so yesterday we're doing a company workout. So we work out. We worked out at LA, or not LA Fitness. Geez, sorry, I almost gave a bad plug. Lifetime Fitness yesterday. Yeah. And, you know, I'm having a conversation with one of the guys, Luke, and I said, look, you know, because we're talking about PPC. And I said, 3 years ago, I made a video on PPC, right? It's got 23,000 something views. You can go look at it on YouTube, just like and subscribe. And so I literally gave you the play-by-play and how I generate 1,000 buyer leads in Phoenix every single month. And it's very repeatable, right? And I'm crushing organic, crushing it. You know, I get 10 million something views organically it's more than that, actually. It's probably about 13 million views organically every year and hundreds of thousands of clicks. I literally give you the blueprint, lay it out for you. Yeah. And 23,000 people have seen that video. I guarantee 2 people out of that
Done something
have
with
actually seen it. It's 1 out of 1,000, or 1 out of 10,000. It's just fucking
you feel my pain. I get that. It drives me nuts all the time. I'm like, if I just had, and I always think about it, I'm like, if I had somebody like me, if I had somebody like me talking to me when I was 20 years old, how much further could I have been? Because I didn't have anybody like that. I'd really, there was such a gap between anybody I knew that made good money. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. Like with my parents, I didn't hang around wealthy people. So like, it seems so far away. I'm like, oh, I can't get around these people. And I'm like, if I just had somebody like me that took a shot on 20-year-old me, could I have gotten, I feel like I truly confidently can say I feel like I would have ran with that, and done something with it. I wanted it so fucking bad.
Well, that's your personality. So like, let's say, you're 20 something out there right now, 30 something, 50-year-old something, right? Mm-hmm. You haven't had the benefit of having a good network, right. Whether it be environment, upbringing, mindset, whatever the situation is. And you're sitting there at home and you're listening to this right now and you're saying, I want to be like Blake. I want to be like Carl. Mm-hmm. I don't have the network, man. Yep. I don't have any money. My education is subpar at best. But I know I've got that drive to succeed. I just need to extrapolate that. Mm-hmm. What are some things that person can do right now, actionable items that somebody could take today to start to actually get that in gear and set realistic expectations? It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
But to start that wheel in motion.
That's a super interesting question. What drives me, like I'll say this, I get a shit ton of people hit me up on Instagram. Can I come meet with you for coffee? Can I? And like the answer is no, not that I don't want to. I just don't have time. But what's funny is that this goes 2 ways. So number one, people are like, hey, what can I do to add value? Like I shouldn't have to tell you what you can do to add value to me, because now you're asking me to go do something. Like really, the ones that have gotten really through to me, I'll be honest with you, there's a couple, if I had to think back and answer this question honestly, it's the people that just literally showed up and just said, I don't need anything from you. Can I just hang out and be around? Yeah, you're not going to take any of my mental space or anything like that. You're not going to take any of my time. I will fucking notice you if you show up. Like, for example, like, hey, I don't want anything from you. Can I show up to a training and just be a part of it? Yeah, come fucking hang out. Come sit in the room. I'm fine with that, right? Like, what can I do of benefit to you? Like, just things like that. Like, if you're smart, you'll find ways to add value to somebody. If you really pay attention and you're like, I need this guy in my world, or this girl in my world, whatever it is, and I want to learn from them. Asking those people for their time is not, I could just tell you somebody like me, and I'm not that high level, there's people way ahead, but I could even tell you as busy as I am, it's the last thing I'm going to do in a day, because I got priorities, my wife, my kids, my business, my people, stuff like those are all my personal business, my clients, those are all my top priority. Very seldom do I have like a random 5 hours where like, yeah, come on in and hang out. As much as I would love to, I really do like those conversations, but if you can find a way to get in my world, and I'm sure the same with you, where you're like, this is what I got going on, but if you want to come fucking pull a chair up in a training and just fucking hang out and take notes and then maybe go do something with that, I'll notice it. If I see you on social media and I see you taking notes, or maybe you give me check-ins, right? Like, hey, I tried this and this is what's going on. I don't expect a response. Just want to give you updated, right? That shit would go miles ahead with somebody like me. Don't take my bandwidth. Just live off of it and show me you're doing something with it. And I would tell you could be in my freaking world, right? So,
yeah. What's so funny is I've kind of become very much an introvert.
Yeah.
Because it's so interesting, because there's so many people out there that just want to take your time. Yeah. And it's so mentally draining, emotionally draining.
Yeah. You got to bring the fire all the time.
Yeah.
When you're a fire bringer, eventually people will put that fire out for you.
Yeah. Yeah. If you let them, there's no doubt about that. What are some other things that have really changed your mindset? Because we all started somewhere, right? And so for me, I never really believed in myself.
Yeah.
And I always had in the back of my mind this negative self-talk. I call it self-talk.
I still have that shit.
Oh, dude, imposter syndrome and all this other shit.
All the time.
Right. And so I think about and it's so funny because somebody had broken down, I was having a really shitty day, and it was Trace, actually. He broke it down for me. I was, dude, in my head all fucking day, just having a shit day. And we're in the gym, and I'm getting my demons out, dude. And I'm like, dude, my self-confidence is fucked. I lost momentum. Like, something's not right. And he's like, dude, let's just break down what you've done for yourself. And then he started breaking down piece by piece and what I've accomplished.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, I feel a lot better about myself.
You forget about all the things.
But what happens is, I think a lot of people, entrepreneurs especially, because we're so self-critical, we get into this space where we start to do negative self-talk. Like, what do you do? Because I know it happens to you too. What do you do to get yourself out of that mental space?
I have to have a routine. Like, it's just like everybody faults me. I don't want to say fault, but they kind of do, because they're like, well, you don't go out and do this and you don't do this. And like, I have my daily structure every day. For me personally, it's just how I fucking am. I have to have, like, for example, I wake up every day, I would say only 2 days super motivated. and I'm being motivated. Like I'm excited to get my feet on the floor and get moving, right? Most of the days I want to sleep in. Most of the days I'm like, fuck, what kind of problems am I have to solve today? Or if you got a really shitty situation you're dealing with, the last thing you want to do is face the world, right? But I have a routine where I get up every friggin' day. I go for a morning run, and then I go to the gym, and then I do, I get around one of my, employees that work with me, my wife and stuff like that. And within 3 hours, I feel amazing before I give myself to the world. It's the only thing that's fucking saved me every morning and giving me consistency, right? It's controlling the friggin' controllables. But then the second part of it is I think guys like us and other high level entrepreneurs, we don't live in our wins. We don't fucking care about those. It's cool. Like you came in my office and you're looking at some of my awards and shit. And I'm like, oh, fucking whatever. Like, and it was a lot of work to get all those things. I got a whole ward of trophies. I never walk in my office. I'm like, look at all these great accomplishments. I don't even fucking care because that was yesterday and it doesn't matter to me anymore. And I think we struggle with that. A lot of people look at that and they think it's cool, but you guys don't understand. It's not about, like, if you look at anybody successful, they never live on their past wins. They just don't fucking care, right? Like I got all the awards in the world, like top performer, top sales, top whatever, ClickFunnels. Just I got 5 of those. It's cool. It's an accomplishment. It's a milestone. I fear every fucking day losing it all and being a failure. I don't know if it makes sense. And I've almost put myself in a position, like I buy rental properties because I was homeless when I was a kid, and I don't ever want to be fucking homeless again. And I buy properties because of that. And I don't make that much money on the cash flow. The cash flow every month's like $300, $400, $500 a month on some of those. And I got a lot of equity built up. I got a couple million saved up in equity on those. So it was a good play. I started buying rentals because I said, what if I ever lose everything? I have to have a house that's cheaper to go put myself into. I don't want my kids to be homeless.
That scarcity mindset. I don't care who you are, man.
No.
If you grew up with that scarcity mindset, it's always in the back door.
Oh yeah.
It's just knocking.
Yeah. No matter how fucking big I get, I'm like, I could lose it all tomorrow. You know what I mean? And so I also am super weird where I love operating under pressure. And some people say it might be unhealthy, and you might even say it's unhealthy. You had a heart attack, I love it. For me, I've had, and I really struggle with this. There's a friend of mine, Temp, a good dude. And he's more on the opposite side. He's super balanced with life. Like that guy went through like 2020, 2021 where he was trying to work so hard. He's traveling around, taking vacations, and sold all of his shit. He got down. I think he read some book about being simplistic and stuff like that. And he's a good dude. I respect him. He actually showed me how to start a team, so I'm like, fuck, am I second guessing myself? I'm like, am I missing out? Should I be living life that way? That seems way less stressful. And so I went through a very small phase where I sold everything and I was fucking miserable. Like, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I like cars. I don't give a shit about spending money on clothes. You won't see me rolling around in Gucci belts or any of that bullshit. I wear a fucking t-shirt and jeans and stuff. And my wife buys me a couple $100 pair of jeans and I lose my mind. I'm like, why would anybody ever spend that? But I got no problem dropping 300 fucking grand on a Lambo.
Right. Totally.
You know what I mean? Because again, like I was such a kid that grew up in, like, my first car had no fucking air conditioning. It was a 1985 Toyota. So I really appreciate a fine vehicle because I still remember being a kid and be like, I just want to have a nice fucking car and I just want a nice house. Like that was all I cared about as a kid. So now I can afford it. It's like, I'm just kind of living out my childhood stuff. But I like those things and they make me happy. And going out to my garage and just looking at a fucking car, I'm like, this is really cool. I get to own this. This was a dream of mine, right? Where some people are like, oh, it's materialistic. It's whatever. I like having that pressure on me, and I just perform better under pressure. I perform better under having kind of a load on my back and stuff. But that's just me. It's I don't know. I'm weird. I don't know.
No, I think a lot of people are like that too because it's a zero options type mentality. And Andy Frisell talks about it all the time. Is that even though you get all the shit in the world that you want, still having that zero options mentality where there's only one way to go because your back is up against that wall. I got to go that way. There's no other option. Get out of my way, I'm going to run you over. And so, really, truly successful entrepreneurs or people in general, could be in any industry, have that mentality, and they wake up fucking savages. And you just said something very, very key to me that really resonated with me is that on a consistent basis, I don't wake up super motivated. Dude, I have heart failure. So
I fucking commend people that do if they exist. So that'd be amazing.
Not everybody's David fucking Goggins, right? So, dude, when I wake up in the morning, it takes a lot of energy for me just to get out of bed. But, something that you said absolutely describes how I'm able to continually be successful, and that's routines, in holding myself accountable to do certain things throughout the day so that I could put wins on the board very early and build that momentum. And at the end of every day, dude, I have to really do an audit and say, did I give 100%? And it's really interesting because my mental state is really affected by this. So at the end of every day, I look back and I say, hey, did I give 100%? And if the answer is no, I'm fucking miserable.
Even though you're not so 100% day is still fucking 95% of better than a majority of the people's day. It's the fact that you left on the table.
Without a doubt.
It pisses me off too.
Dude, it does. And it's just like, God, I waste another day. And people are like, dude, you kicked ass all day. You get all this shit done. And I'm like, no.
I struggle on like Sundays. Like my wife's like, take a day off. I'm like, I fucking can't. I can't fucking do it. I feel like if I sleep in, I wasted a day. And
dude, sleeping in for me is 6 a.m.
Me too. That's how it was the other day. My wife's like, I usually get up at 3. And I think on Sunday we'd been out late. I'd just been going so hard all week. And I knew my body was like, yeah, this is enough. Like, I was just running on like 4 hours sleep from every night. So I was like, I'm going to sleep in. And 6:30.
Yeah.
My wife's like, I'm very proud of you. You slept in until 6:30. I'm like, fuck, but I just lost 3 hours today.
It's so funny.
But I felt good.
Yeah. Ashley last night was like, are you setting an alarm? I'm like, Tom, I'm not going to set an alarm on Tuesday morning. I'm just going to sleep in. 6 a.m. Bam. I'm up. All right, let's go.
It's tough. And like I said, but that's where I just find joy in my work too. And, it's just my system. It's my routine. And I'm just one of those guys that have to have a periodic, or a set every single day. This is what I'm doing. I might take little breaks in between those and stuff. But I got the same routine. I don't deviate away from it. It helps me see. I'm one of those guys, like I just calculate consistency, right? Like I get up every day 2 hours early. You get up 2 hours early, you calculate that out. That buys you 30 extra days a month.
It's insane.
And people don't think about that. And it's just the small compound. Like I look at every day, what little compounding things can I do that are going to make the difference, right? 10 extra dials or 1 extra post on social media for lead gen, like whatever that looks like. It's just the small compounding effect. I don't look for the big stuff, but I do. I'm smart enough to know, like in my life, especially, like if you just stick with the course and give it time, and I'm not a patient person. That's where I struggle the most with. I'm not a patient guy. So when you tell somebody like me, like, hey, you just gotta be patient, I'm like, I fucking hate that word.
Yeah, but don't talk to me about that.
But being patient in levels of that, it's like, but I get an extra month worth of work done with you on myself too. Those 2 hours I buy myself, that's mental, So.
Yeah, because I did the calculations early on, and I want to go back to this, but so very early in my life, I was making $3.35 an hour, right? Mm-hmm. And so I said, hey, look, what do I need to do to make more money? And it was a very simple equation for me. Well, just work more hours. So get 2 jobs instead of 1 job.
Yeah.
So, but going back and circling back to something you had said, do you think you can be very, very successful if you're not passionate, truly passionate, like you found your purpose in whatever it is that you do? Do you think you can be absolutely successful?
I think you could be successful in the short term. There's a lot of things I think I'd be phenomenal at that I can ramp up and make income. I think for the long term you can't. You have to. This is me personally, and what I mean by real estate is like I love real estate as a whole. Now, does that mean I want to continue to be a listing agent? No, but I think at some facet I love the game of real estate because for me it's one massive game of Monopoly. That's what it is. I also take it serious because I love for me, I feel like I teach people so many different things, like the conversations we're talking about where I'm like, well, you can do this. And why don't, like, especially now, the last 3 years, my conversation's been, why don't you keep your fucking house as a rental? Don't sell this thing. Like, keep it. You got enough equity, pull a little bit of money out, go buy another one. You can cash flow this for $300. I never did that when I was an agent. Nobody taught me that. I didn't even know, I was just learning myself. But I find pride in that now where it's like I'm really helping people make some money here. Like I've got clients I've made fucking millions of dollars. And that feels really good. Not like, oh, that sucks. No, like I'm like, okay, that's my value. Like I can say I helped them buy, I bought a good deal. I found a good deal. I talked them into this. We sold and they made a couple $1 million. And I'm like, that's fucking amazing. Right. And you feel valued as a person. And I love that, which is why I think I do so well in the business because I love it as a whole. I love learning new things, and I guess it's just me. And like I said, I know there's a lot of great things I could be good at. I can go race cars for a living, be amazing at that because I love it. But there's other things I think I could be good at that I wouldn't. The long term when shit gets hard, the hard days, the hard months, the like, oh shit, my business is going through this like fucking lawsuit. I'm out. You know what I mean? If you don't love it, you ain't hanging on to that. It's just like a shitty relationship. You know what I mean? Like you're like, I'm just kind of halfway in, halfway out. And as soon as you guys face some majorly turbulent times, I'm throwing the rag, right? So I think, in my opinion, I look at the people that have been in this business for a long time, while they have deviated out of, a couple of them invest, like the Kenny Klauses and goes, they invest in other businesses and restaurants and stuff, which I think is a genius move. They're always got their foot in real estate. They're always got their hand in real estate, and they've maintained and they've weathered the cycles of real estate because I think they love it. They're good at it,
Yeah, for me, I think, and you kind of said a lot of what I would say too, but for me, real estate's the vehicle for my actual purpose. 100%. And so realizing that, life is so freaking short, and trying to really find out what my purpose is, and having rediscovered that, or actually discovered that for the first time, really, truly, when I had the heart attack, and understanding my purpose has been to help other people, so I talked about, my second life, is really for you guys, for the people that are listening here. Yep. In vehicle, it could be different for anybody, but like you said, my passion is found inside of real estate because I can use that as a vehicle to help other people, whether Absolutely. It be grow wealth or, solve a problem, or do think about how impactful it is to, and I know you've done it, take a single mom, put her into a stable situation where she's got housing and dude,
those deals feel better than some of the multi-million-dollar deals I do.
And I, you know what's so funny, dude? I almost did a deal for free yesterday.
I've done a couple for fucking free.
I've done quite a few, you know, just because I'm so passionate about helping people. I'm like, dude, it's not about the money.
Yeah, it'll come back down the road in a good way for you.
It's just karma. You know, good shit.
Yeah.
What are some other things that you do on a daily basis? Because I really want to get into your brain as far as routine, you know, because I think that routine can really set you up for success. What are some things that you do daily that are non-negotiables?
Working out, obviously, number one, non-negotiable. Podcast every single day on my walk, non-negotiable. And it's not a F-off podcast. It's like literally something I can put like actionable items into, or like business, or like for me, it's mindset. I struggle, which is ironic because it is. Everybody looks at me like for a strong mindset. I struggle. The biggest self-defeatist there is out there. I'm the dude that's got the biggest self-doubt. I'm the dude that's like hard on himself. I'm the dude that always constantly worries, am I doing enough? Am I going enough? I'm probably the hardest person on myself. So I have to really stay in alignment on like my mindset and stuff like that, because shit just pisses me off. Like the world, you know, it's a sad place, man. It sucks, you know. It's just I don't like when I see other people. I take shit serious when people fail. I'm like, oh, it's my fault. Like everything is my fault. I wear a lot on my shoulders. So, you know, and I've been to a place where like depression's been there and stuff like that in the past many times. You know what I mean? Like just really, really dark fucking spots. And so for me, it's every day non-negotiable work on your fucking mindset. Like, and so it's a non-negotiable every day for me, whether that's reading a book, whether that's listening to podcasts, whether that's giving affirmations to other people. I like to make other people feel good and just engage in conversation with them and stuff, but that's like my non-negotiable every day right now.
No shit. What are some podcasts you're listening to?
Real AF, Andy Frisell is a really good one. I like really listening to Alex Hormozi's podcast. He's got a really good one. Bigger Pockets is always good from like a real estate standpoint and stuff like that. And then I think that's it. Like maybe those two, a couple little odd and off ones outside of that, but
for sure.
Yeah. Andy's just good dude. Like if you guys don't listen to Real AF podcast, you fucking just have to.
Yeah. You're missing out, man. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Solid dude. Anything else I can answer for you? Because I'm an open book, man.
No, man. I'll tell you what. Let's go deep on this. What's the one thing you hate about being a brokerage owner? Everybody talks about all the good shit, and obviously we're small boutique brokerage owners and stuff like that. Everybody roads and touts it. Let's talk about the ugly side of it, just because I know people right now. I know there's agents that listen that are team leaders, or maybe, and I'm sure this would apply very much from a team lead, because there's not much of a difference from a team lead to a brokerage owner, other than you got a little more liability on you. What's the downside of leadership on the backside for you, man?
Oh God, dude. I mean, a lot of it is it's more admin than I think people understand, you know, and I'm just not a good admin dude.
Nope.
I'll tell you, you know, and I joke about it in the company meetings. I'll fuck your paycheck.
Do you still do the designated broker on yours?
I am.
Yeah. I got out of that role.
Unfortunately, Ashley, she started her course this week.
My wife went to get it. She's our broker now.
So she's eligible, I think, in either November or December of this year. So I'll be, you know, passing that off here pretty quick. But, you know, I'm the designated broker in 4 out of the 5 states that we're licensed in. And so, you know, the admin part of it is like, I have to do continuing education in 5 states, 4 states, you know, and so it's like, God, I am licensed in 5. We're just not in Nevada yet.
Yeah.
And so interesting. But you deal with stupid shit. And usually it's the freaking border realtors. So what happens is there's a complaint of something, you know, and this is not the state. This is literally agent to agent, you know, procuring cause issues or something stupid where there's an argument or somebody let somebody in when they shouldn't have had lockbox access. It's something stupid. I mean, we deal with 1,000 things, and we've been sued. I'm not even joking, man. We've probably been sued 20 to 30 times inside the last 9 years. And we've paid a check exactly 1 time. And that was just because I felt bad about the situation.
Sure. Just do the right thing.
Just do the right thing. Just get it done. But you get sued constantly. You know, people are always looking at you for money, and it's just like, come on, guys. Like, you know, it's just killing me. But I will tell you, it's been the most rewarding thing I've ever done is to lead people to success.
Yep.
And so through that, I've become a better version of myself. And because it does push me to be better and better and better, because I understand that, you know, when people are looking up at me, you know, I have to hold myself to a higher standard. And so, you know, for me, it's the physical part of it is a big part of it. You know, physically, first thing I do every day is take a walk. You know, and I'm listening to podcasts. And so every single day, non-negotiable. Then in the evening time, I'm working out, you know, and during the day, I'm doing, you know, shit that's really going to move the needle. Applying the 80-20 rule, you know, and really trying to move that needle forward and solving problems for people. It's been so rewarding, but it's so taxing at the same time.
100%. Yeah, it's fucking tough for sure. Yeah, for me, it was, I don't know. I remember when I went to start mine out, it may have been that way. Like so many people told me don't do it. Like, don't do it. And that made me want to do it fucking more because that's just how I am. I'm like, I'll just prove you guys wrong. It's a lot of work for sure. There's always those thoughts of like, it would have been easier just to stay as a team and, you know, go hang my license under another brokerage. But the biggest fucking thing thing is I couldn't find the culture that I fucking want. I'm like, this is what I want out here. And I'm tired of the big box bullshit. Like, I'm tired of the turnover. I'm tired of them not pouring into agents. Like, I want agents to be successful. My biggest lesson from it so far was just, and I deviated away from my own standards, man. I had a team of not a lot of people, 10 people for 4 years, and we were very successful. Like, agent to deal ratio was really high. We were at a big box brokerage for 3 years. 2020, they did about 1,100 transactions, and my team of 10 did 310 of those out of 260 agents, right? And that's just the result of it was a flat fee, and they just, a lot of licensed parkers there, and the leadership didn't really care. They got paid a flat fee, so they had zero incentive to coach, train, teach them business, where my team, we did that. And it kind of really pissed me off. I'm like, man, because it was like, there's so much wasted potential here. Why are 10 of us pulling 25% of this company's weight right now? Not that, we got our checks, we did fine, but it was just the part of me that's like, there's a lot of untapped potential here. And I went to make her an offer. I was like, how about I just buy you out? Like, obviously this isn't your fucking gig, right? And she was like, okay, this is a number I want. And I was like, all right, cool. Some of your books. And she's like, nope, I'm not showing you my books. That's my price. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to go buy a business that doesn't work that way. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll just open my own franchise under this one. And I called corporate, and they were like, yeah, we're all about it. And because they were cool. I was, I'd done a couple of speaking events for them. I was a good team, good representative of the company. She caught wind of that and immediately like went in and cited like, oh, it's in my, my agreement with my franchise agreement. He can't have anything within 20 miles of me. So then they're like, you got to go be out in like Apache Junction. I was like, that ain't going to work for me. Like, I live here. So just decided to do my own friggin' thing. But where I screwed up was I kept a really tight team because we were very stringent on like who would come on. It wasn't just anybody, it was very much like, hey, you got to really fit the mold. You got to fit the culture. So we were effective in what we did. And then when I started the brokers, I was like, I got to get a lot of people underneath here. I got to make it profitable. I got a lot more overhead now. And we let a lot of people in, and I learned that lesson hard for 2 years. I'm like, they just do not fit the mold. Went through a real shaky year and a half, basically, of just having, it's not that any of them were bad. I just knew better than to take those kind of personalities and put them in with what I have. And so we learned a lot. Like, we got really strict. Now it's like, hey, you got certain requirements you got to maintain. And we interview them, and there's just certain things, key things we look for. And it's like, if we know you're not going to be a good plug, we're probably not going to take you. It's the slower path. But I hated that about it. I was like, I felt like I was doing things so friggin' wrong for so long.
We did the same exact thing. We would just hire, I don't want to say anybody, but if you had deals under your belt, we're like, all right, well, come on board.
Yeah.
And then it would destroy the company culture.
Yeah.
So we'd be at company events and it just wouldn't fit, it wouldn't flow.
Yep.
It's just awkward.
Yep.
So now we're super strict about, hiring and making sure that you
being a little more selective with who you have. Yeah.
You have to align with our values too.
You got it.
And so like,
probably saves you from getting sued more too if you got the right values in place.
Well, yeah, 100%. But I think when I talk about values, I'm talking about, we are America as fuck.
Yeah.
Right. It's like we carry guns up in this bitch.
Absolutely.
So like, we really enjoy, that American freedom aspect of things, and so we take that to the
which is fucking missing in the real estate world,
missing,
right? That's the thing.
So
a lot of these brokerages are so watered down. This is what goes back to what I talked to you about, where it's like, that's what the value I see in brokerages is everybody has their own kind of like little subculture of whatever you lean on politically, whatever. I don't really give a shit, but I like that diversity because at least you have a place to go plug into as an agent. And I think you should start looking more of that of like, hey, what's this culture about? Like with yours, you're like, hey, we're super American, hardworking. That's how we are. Same shit. Like, roll up your fucking sleeves, get to work, stop bitching. If you have a bad day, I'm here to pat you on the ass, but tomorrow we get back on the horse and we go do the fucking thing, right? That's pretty much how we are too, same way. And so I love that there's that diversity in there instead of these big box brokerages that are like, we'll just take anybody, everybody's super neutral, super bland, super plain. Fucking hate it. Can't do it.
Hate it. But that's what gives you and I an advantage.
Yeah.
So I love that. Absolutely love it, man.
So what's the next car for you? You're a car guy.
you know what's so interesting? So God, I go through this cycle where I probably buy 10 to 15 cars a year.
I know you got cool shit.
So I just got a AMG GT, GTS. And so I kind of like it, man. So I've been driving that for a little bit. And so I think the next car, honestly, is going to be either a Veyron or a Chiron.
Oh, dude, that's big bucks right there. That's the bad boys.
Yeah. And so
what do you love about it?
Well, because nobody's got one.
Okay.
Here's the problem.
All right.
Is that, dude, I drove a Lambo, fucking, what a great car too, by the way. So like, God, the things are just indestructible. Yeah. And I drove it on the track, so like, of course with Radford, I would just go out of the track and just anytime I want, just go tear it up. And so I've had pretty much everything. I've had Ferraris, Porsches, Lamborghinis, Bentleys, you name it. I've had multiples of each, Rolls Royces. And I'm like, well, they're cool, but like, they're just not that next level where it's right on the edge of like engineering. And so I look at like the Bugattis, I look at the God, I mean, there's so many cool things that are really out there at like that 2 million price point that are just, ridiculous. Like the new Hennessy is just ridiculous, man. Stupid. And so, we have an option to get maybe a Koenigsegg, good friend.
That would be legit. See, I like those. I don't know what it is with the Bugatti. I can't love the look of them. And my struggle is I don't have like FU money where it's like, whatever, I'll buy one as a collection. I don't have to love it. Like if I buy that kind of car, it's like that's my top, right? If I buy that, I just don't love the look of it. It hasn't grown on me enough.
I think the
Bugattis are amazing.
Bugattis are badass, but I think I don't know. I just can't get over the mirrors. They just look fucking funny.
I'd like a LaFerrari. That would be like
LaFerraris are pretty badass.
Like my big ticket. If I spend that kind of money, it'd probably be a LaFerrari. If I
I don't know. I mean, I think like the Koenigsegg's are. I know that they just make such a great car that's right on the edge of technology. With the new transmissions and stuff. I think I'm over like the Rolls Royces. Stuff for now.
I'm on a kick for another classic right now. I just showed my wife this morning. She's like, absolutely not, because I keep.
Which means yes.
Yeah, I just bought like my Performante, and I've got a new truck and whatever, and we're like just buying rentals and shit like that and putting money back in the business. And I've been on this kick because I'm building a 71 Chevelle right now. It's not an SS, but it's a sentimental car. It was a family member friend, and it got out of hand. It was supposed to be just like a big block in the car, clean it up, turned into a new frame to a supercharged, basically LS platform on basically a 427 LS is what it is with a 3-liter Whipple. So it's like 1,280 horse on 91 octane.
Yeah.
Roadster shop did a full spec V chassis, so I'm like 200 grand into this stupid Chevelle, like getting there right now. But then I was like, well, I really want like this American iconic, like muscle, like all original, because I love both. Like I
do too.
What's weird is like I have this old 79 K10 short bed, and I love driving it, and it's like the roughest riding piece of shit, least technology, window cranks, but like I drive it and it takes me back to like this time, like it's super weird. Like I'll just drive it and I'm like, man, this is what it was like to like just old school, like no cameras, no nothing, like how simple life was. So it's like it's like this time capsule when you drive them. Not a lot of people understand that, I'm sure, but like for me, it's like time capsules, right? A 55 Bel Air I just sold, and you look at it and you're like, the quality of detail and all the chrome on the dash. It's like such an experience to drive this thing, but it's so fucking raw. Like you're just shifting banging gears, grinding and stuff. You can hear the wind coming through everything, and like that was considered luxury back then. Right. So now I hop in like my new Denali pickup. I'm like, this is so fucking nice. Imagine like what was nice back then. So I'm on this kick for a 70 Chevelle LS6, and my problem with me is like when I buy stuff, it has to be like the best of that model.
Same.
So like I won't drive a Huracan 580. Not that there's any goddamn thing wrong with that. Truth be told, that's probably like the most amazing like daily driver would be. If you're gonna daily drive a Huracan, like just to put miles on and not give a shit, a 580 is like the way to go. 610 is what I had before. I think you had one of those. Amazing car, all-wheel drive. I loved it. And then like the Performante, I'm almost like, I don't want to drive the shit out of this thing, because when I bought it, it only had 680 miles on it. Oof. Super low mile, absolutely immaculate. So now when I drive it, I'm like, fuck, I'm putting so many miles on this thing, and it's like
guilty for driving.
Yeah, and it's kind of like I'm getting over that now, but now I'm like, I really want a 70 Chevelle LS6, because it's like the unicorn of like Chevelles, epitome of the muscle car. So I'll show my wife I found, but I like have to have a black one, all original, numbers matching, 4-speed Muncie on the floor with the 454, the 450 horse. And they're hard to find, and they're not cheap right now. And I found one, and my wife's like, "Don't you fucking dare buy that fucking car."
Yeah, what's so funny? It's not that long ago they were $30,000-$40,000 cars. Now they're well over 6 figures.
Oh like, yeah, dude. God, yeah, it's just hard to find them and stuff. And then like the other crappy part about it was I figured out, and this is total first world problems, by the way, for those guys that aren't car people. You're being an idiot. But the LS6s never came with air conditioning, because it was a race car, factory race, like Chevelle, like it's the king of the street, 450 horse back in the 70s. And I'm like, well, fuck, I live in Arizona, so I can only drive this thing.
It's not practical.
Like, I know. But then there's the weird part of me that's like, well, I can go buy an LS5, which had a 396 with AC, but then I'm going to know that there was this fucking
one better
on the road.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
And I fucking struggle. My wife's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Just buy that. And I'm like, no, but then I'm going to know that the best of the best is out on the road, and I can't have that. This is a weird mindset, by the way. No. Like car guys.
And here's the thing. It transfers
the Huracan. I had a really nice LP610. I'm like, this is amazing Huracan. It's a great fucking car. But there's a fucking Performante out there that I could have that's not. I'm like, that's one step better. Fuck it. All right, so I'll get the Performante.
Yeah, totally. I do the shit with like computers and like TVs. Yeah. I'm like, I have to have the best.
It's the weirdest friggin' thing, man. Yep. I don't know. It's super stupid financial decisions. So don't do that for any of you guys that aren't in a position to do that. But yeah, so that's where my mind's at right now. I want to get one of those. I've toyed with the idea of like a McLaren. I don't know. I think they're cool. The problem is like the McLarens I want, it's like a Santa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That goes back to what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, 720S just ain't going to do
it. Yeah, or like a P1 or something. Like the P1s were like affordable. And now they're even super crazy
Stupid high.
Yeah. But they're the only ones that look like super good to me. Like I love the rear ends on them and stuff like that. So
and they're nasty.
I know.
Yeah, they're nasty.
That's a freaking problem. So anyways. Yeah.
Love it.
Cool. Dude, can't appreciate you enough for coming,
Thank
brother.
you so much, man.
Where can people find you at? Name of your
IG's
brokerage,
honestly-
Kenneth James Realty. I don't even think we've got to give you a plug
Oh
on
yeah,
your
yeah,
brokerage.
appreciate that. Didn't come here for that, but
I
yeah.
know.
So IG Carl_Freund.
Okay.
Hands down the easiest way, and then you get to see a glimpse of my life too. You know,
Yeah.
'cause I'm starting to share more of that because I've been kind of introverted for a long time.
Yeah.
Everybody's pushing me to get out there. All right, you get to see some of my shit. So
Do you struggle to show the nice shit?
I do 100% because I've got a weird complex, man. So
Yeah.
like I don't show my house.
Yeah.
You know, I don't show what I got going on.
Yeah.
You know, I don't show the cars very often, and
Yep.
so.
I did that for a really long time, man. It was funny. We'll since we're just gonna roll with this real fast, but like
Yeah.
I was the same way. I had a guy tell me, he was a friend of mine, and he was basically, I was going to list his house. It was my first $1 million property, actually. I sold so many friggin' houses. Like, I was so pissed off. Back talk about the complex. I'm like, maybe I'm just not ever cut out to sell nice houses because I was sold like almost 400 houses. None of them were $1 million. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? I wasn't hanging out with the right people that, you know, in that circle at that time. First listing I got over $1 million, 1.8. And I remember he came to me and he was like, you don't really look successful. I'm going to be very honest with you. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, I'm really good. I think I'm good. I do a lot of houses and stuff. He's like, yeah, but dude, I see your house, I see your cars, and you don't look successful. And I was like, do I have to look successful? That conversation, man, struck with me because he was like, you don't have to look, and I'm not saying fake flex. He's like, but I got to be honest, like successful people, it's two things. Successful people want to be surrounded by other successful people. He goes, if you're going in, great example for a heart attack, right? You had a heart attack. Do you want your doctor to roll up looking like he doesn't do that well financially? No, at that point, he's like, you probably want your doctor to roll up in like the nicest fucking car. You're going to feel confident that he's making money. He must be good at what he does, right? He's like, same thing with an attorney. You're going in to fight this major legal battle and your attorney pulls up in like this super beat up ass fucking car. You're like, oh my God, I just hired the worst fucking attorney possible. He goes, unfortunately, the stereotype part of that is real. And I never wanted to put that shit out there because I hate people. I like cars because I just like cars. Like I didn't have them growing up, right? I struggle with because like I don't want people to only want to do this because they want the cars and shit. They have to love to do it, and that's a byproduct. So I was like you, where I struggled to show that stuff. But he's like, you're pushing away guys like me because we don't know you're successful. Like there's other agents out there that look far more successful, and if we're this successful as business owners, we want to work with other successful business owners. It just is what it is because I want the best of the best. He's like, do you want the best? I'm like, yeah, I kind of do. Like obviously we just talked about, like I do kind of want the best of the best when it comes to services. So I struggle with that, and then I started putting that stuff out there, and then the other thing with it was like what really struck home was like I was a kid and I used to be motivated by that. I remember the very first Lambo I ever saw, a guy had it at a car wash. Doors were up. It was an Aventador, and he was young. He was like 26, 27, and I was like, holy fuck, this is crazy. Like I remember looking at, because I always had the posters on the wall, talking to the guy, the nicest freaking guy ever. Like gave me great advice and stuff. This is like when I was 23. You know, hadn't even seen any level of success whatsoever. And I remember being so motivated by that. I was like, oh, that guy's so cool. That's such a badass car. And that'd be amazing driving that. Like, that stuff carried me through. And obviously, like, I don't want to say I'm materialistic, but I like nice cars and it's like goals of mine and stuff to own those. And he's like, you're probably kids out there that would, just like you, that would want to see that shit, that like would be motivated, and that would attract somebody like you, because you're as much as you're trying to push away these people, you're also probably pushing away these people that would really help them. And I was like, shit, man. And if I really had to take myself and plug myself into like me as a kid and who I looked up to, it would be me, and it'd be the guy that shares some wins, but not the asshole stereotype where I got nice shit and you all suck and I can't talk to you, but the guy that has nice shit but is willing to help everybody. And so when he put that into perspective for me, he's like, you're gonna get people to talk shit. You can not post any of your shit and people are gonna fucking hate on you and say you suck and you're not that good, you don't got nice shit, and you can put nice shit out. He goes, regardless, you're never gonna win 50% of. I'm like, he's like, the fucking president can't do that. And I'm like, fuck, man, you're right. He's like, so what's wrong with showing people in a humble way though? Like, but showing people it's possible. He goes, you want other realtors to say, hey, you can build this life and have this if this is what you desire, or some level that kid that's just getting out of high school. Do I go to college? What do I want to do? Like, you can model what like a really cool life looks like and help people, right? He goes, that's the other side of it. Help people get that. Don't show them how you did it. And I'm like, yeah, I love doing that. He's like, show your shit. And I started showing my shit, and dude, my quality of influence, it's fucking crazy, dude. Like, I've attracted some shit bags for it. I'm not going to lie. Like, I've had some people come around for the wrong reasons, but I've had more people come around for the right reasons because they're attracted to those things and they're really cool, but they're really down to earth people. I don't know. It's just brought good people in my world.
You know what I think it is for me is I just care too much about what people think of me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, 100%.
I did too. I get it.
Yep.
But you got cool shit and you're a super good guy. So
likewise, man.
Yeah. So cool.
Such a pleasure and honor.
Well, thank you for coming, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
If you guys found value in this, go give Carl a follow. And as always, feel free to share this with anybody you think they can get value. I guarantee you we dropped enough in here. Somebody's got to have a message in here. It's going to
Just one little nugget.
Yeah, man. So
for sure.
As always, guys, see ya.